I'm the Uncanny Dayspring.
And I'm the adjectiveless Flinkman.
We are here to talk about Power of X-Men's top 10 most wanted Marvel Legends list. So we did ask the Familia on Instagram, are you a Marvel Legends collector? And we got a really healthy amount of votes in. We got 787 votes on this. And 53% of the people said yes, longtime collector. 19% said nope, I'm not. And 28% said a few here and there.
Well, forget that 19%. We don't care. No. This episode is not for you.
That's right. Stop. We're going to be talking so much about Legends, so I'm sorry, tap out. But I actually thought 53%, like, wow. That is like, especially since we are a dedicated X-Men community, it's not like larger Marvel Avengers, but like 53% of X-Men fans who engage with us are Marvel longtime will classify themselves as longtime Marvel Legends collector. That's a pretty impressive number.
Yeah, I agree. And I almost want to do a sub poll of the 53% and be like, well, how long have you been collecting? Because if this line has been going for 22 years now, and we've been there since day one. I'm not trying to be like, oh, we're the OG hipsters here, but like we've been in it since 2002, and I'm just curious to know, how many people have been there with us.
We hunted for Red Skull. I mean, we hunted for Red Skull, the Dark Phoenix chase. I got Dark Phoenix from China the second she hit eBay. And remember, we talked about this because I paid like $75 for her and just to get her early. And everyone's like, how could you pay $75 for an action figure?
Yeah, as if that's almost retail for like exclusive action figures at this point, and less than a Mayfex. So we had it so good back in the day, we had no idea. And by the way, I probably paid that much or more to get Mohawk Storm, which wasn't even like a comic accurate version at all, also from
Yes.
China.
Yes. That was wave 7, right? Was it wave 7 or wave 8?
That was so long
Okay,
ago.
wait. Do you know where I found? I didn't find Mohawk Storm. I found regular Storm and Iceman. Do you know where I found them?
No, I get KB Toys, RIP.
No, Sun Coast Videos in Tallahassee, Florida, in 2004, 2003, whatever year that wave came out. Sun Coast Video. That is where I found Marvel Legends. That's how old we are as collectors. Sorry, I'm like pounding my desk here.
It's absolutely insane. Like that we've been doing this, some of us are almost 40, some of us are already 40, and we've been collecting this since we were like 18 and 19. It's just like half of our lives at this point, if not longer. I can't math.
It has
it's
been.
Early.
No, it is half of our lives. I mean, a little bit more than half because I'm 40 on the dot and this wave is 22 years. So I was in high school. I remember going to high school in 2002, driving to the Toys R Us RIP in my neighborhood with my frosted tips and like
Your Mark McGrath hair.
My Mark McGrath hair and going to the toy aisle and seeing Toad and thinking this is a ridiculous figure, but I'm still going to buy it. And it being a holy grail for collections, for years.
That Toad figure, obviously wasn't created for Marvel Legends, so it didn't have the articulation. It was different than all the others, and everybody hated it for so long. But after like 10 years, that guy was going for like over $100 on eBay, and I'm like, I've got gold here.
My favorite story, speaking of gold, is when you found the Chase Wave at Walmart. I mean, again, we have roots in this hobby.
Oh yeah, I mean that is one of my favorite collecting stories. If that's no, that is my favorite collecting story of all time. It was a few years into the line. It was probably like 2006, 2007. I know that because I was like freshly 21 and able to drink. And Walmart was doing like a best of wave, and it was like re-releasing figures from the past. And I found it was like 3 a.m. I was a little tipsy. I wasn't driving. I had a DD. And I was like fresh from the gay club, and we go to Walmart because this is how committed we were to hunting these figures. 3 a.m. after the gay club, I'm at Walmart and I find like a case of the Chase figures. So I got like Dark Phoenix, I got Phasing Vision, or as I like to call him, Jolly Rancher Vision.
Oh my God, yes! Oh, it's just that's what they call them on the Foosh, right?
Yeah, that is
the
what
nickname. Oh my God, that just hit me so hard when you said. I forgot that's what they called him.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, he did look like a Jolly Rancher,
No, he
so
did.
it's very accurate. And also the Phasing Ghost Rider, which was the more classic color scheme, and his like face was melting off of the skull. That figure still remains pretty cool, and I was overjoyed. And again, I lost myself. I was so excited. I like called my boyfriend at the time at 3 a.m. I was like, "Oh my God, I found Dark Phoenix!" And he was like, "Bitch, I was asleep. Leave me alone. Like, I'm going back to bed." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, fine. Don't match my excitement. This is why we're not going to work."
I love that you're a chaotic twink at 3 a.m. at Walmart getting Marvel Legends like best of waves. You're like, I found Jolly Rancher Vision. And he's here like, is that a drug?
Yeah. He's like, "Are you on drugs right now?" I was like, "Probably." No.
I mean, listen, I can't say that I have not been on drugs or drunk while hunting Marvel Legends. And before we dive into the top 10 list, I just want to say that is why I love this hobby so much, which is you show up at various stages of your life. Like I've said this story before. We've said this to Ryan Ting, that like I was in LA for a gig, but I was in the car with my contact and we passed a Walgreens. I was like, can you please stop the car? Because I need to see if they have Danny Moonstar. I love that we hunt while still trying to maintain our normal everyday lives. And recently, I got kind of sad with the figure you have as your background right now, because I wanted to go in person to pick up Carol. And I completely didn't think about at midnight to go onto Target.com and do in-store pickup. And all of the chaotic collector in the Jersey City area got her, even though I had been stalking my Target for like weeks.
Yeah, I literally as we have made clear now, we're old, so like staying up to midnight for me is not always, a possibility, but I made sure to stay up that particular night to make sure that I was there online when she dropped. And I did her for in-store, ordered her for in-store pickup at 8 different Targets in the DFW, the Dallas Fort Worth Metroplex.
I mean, I knew it because airport codes.
Yeah. And so, well, you would. And only one of those Targets actually came through for me. So thank God I did that, because I can't be without my Carol. Marvel Legends collectors have a lot of nostalgia for this because she was, of course, Meg Ryan, Ms. Marvel, in the Walmart wave back in 2006. I mean, for us longtime collectors, that wave in particular, the Giant Man Build-A-Figure wave, was a highlight of those early days of collecting. So there's a lot of nostalgia for people like us who have been collecting this line for a long time to get a really nice update of that figure.
I mean, she looks so great. And I love that they're doing more elaborate hair. And we'll get into this once we hit the list. But that Phoenix Force Creations, the way that Mike styles the hair, I love seeing that dramatic effect on figures now. I think it works so well with someone like Carol. Because again, the Meg Ryan Miss Marvel, the one thing that I disliked about it was her hair, because the prototype on the packaging showed her to have longer hair, a little bit more flare. And then when you get it, it's more Sleepless in Seattle, very like done up hair,
It wasn't very Carol, that's for sure. And I'm all fine with dynamic, semi-windswept hair, but let's not go light up Psylocke here, okay?
Okay, well, I think we should dive into the list because that's it. You light up Psylocke. I can rant for hours on that, as we have for like the last 2 decades of our friendship. Yeah. Okay,
let's do it. Let's jump in.
All right, so we pulled the Familia. These are our top 10 most wanted Marvel Legends. Spoilers for anyone joining. We did get a lot of non-X-Men characters, but because we are an X-Men based community, these are all X-Men. Shocker. But we're going to dive in with number 10, and number 10 is Hellfire Gala Storm.
Yeah, and I listen, it wouldn't be the Storm that I choose. You know, I would rather have Outback Storm so we can complete that team, but I understand the desire for this version. It is a cool look, and I'm assuming we're talking about, you know, when we say Hellfire Gala Storm, I assume we're talking about the Russell Dodderman design with the nice pointy gold shoulder pads, and like she had like a cloud for a cape, and she wore it for a little bit of Soul Region of Mars. So excuse me, Araco.
Get it right. Get it right. How dare you?
I'm so sorry.
You're not really a fan.
No, fake fan. Didn't read it. No, I did read that, so it's fine. But you know, I think this could probably be. I think Familia would probably be happy with any version of Krakoa Storm. We have, you know, the first X-Men Red Storm, where she had the pony and the sort of nod, the little headpiece that was a nod to her tiara. And then, you know, of course, the Hellfire Gala look. And then she had like the punk costume with the big, it wasn't a mohawk, but she had the big sort of, you know, styled it as a mohawk, a little bit more punk. Any of those I think would make, you know, very nice action figures. If, you know, again, Outback Storm is the one that I would want, but you know, if we were going for a modern Storm, I think I would want that first X-Men Red Storm with the ponytail myself. But, you know, you can't go wrong with any Storm. And let's be real, I'd buy them all. She was my first X-Men figure ever. So.
Well, I don't think she was my first. I had to chase her. But yeah, I mean, to your point, I think because I polled a couple of people, because this was a kind of like it was kind of hard to figure out which Storm people were talking about, because Storm has so many great looks. But I inferred from the people I actually did speak with that they were referring to the Hellfire Gala Soul Regent Storm. However, the main thread with a lot of people that I was talking to, and what people were saying when they were replying to this poll, was that they really do want that modern Storm. So again, the X-Men Red, the Hellfire Gala Soul Regent, or the X-Men Red one is fine. I personally am leaning towards the Hellfire Gala Storm. I love that Dodderman was talking about that his design choice for this was very pointed, because when he was on a Zoom with the X-Men team and the writers and the editors, they were like, Storm's costume needs to be the weather. And so that's why we have that cloud cape. You know, it's so funny. I always forget about the cloud cape, and I always look at her hair, and her hair feels more cloudy to me. Yeah. That's sort of where I go, but I think she looks good. Listen, modern Storm, I'm with you that if I had to have my pick, it would probably be Joe Mad era Storm with the bangs. I don't think that is feasible yet. I think hopefully one day we could get there. I would like the Robot series Storm with like the long bangs and the hair. We know the look can translate well to action figure.
Oh yeah.
But I cannot deny that a modern Storm is very much needed.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see. She's always a good seller, so I'm sure Hasbro has another Storm in the pipeline, and whatever it is, I'm gonna buy it.
All right. Well, who is next on our list?
Okay, so number 9 is someone that we have never had a figure of before. We came close to having one in the 90s, and I'm still traumatized that we didn't get it. It is, of course, Generation X staple and Cannonball's little sister, Husk.
Paige Guthrie. Listen, she is on that rumored Marvel Legends 2025 list circulating out there. So fingers crossed. For me, Generation X, specifically Husk, is always going to represent a time in my life. They feel like the cool older kids to me. And I believe Scott Lobdell, I was talking to him on text about this. I was like, can you tell me something about like your creation and your thought process for the Generation X team, because they're so iconic? And he was here like, it's just that so many companies at the time were trying to do their own iteration of X-Men that we wanted to be like, no, this is the new generation of X-Men. This is the definitive one. And we don't have Wolverine here. We don't have Nightcrawler. If you want those characters, go to Uncanny or Adjectiveless X-Men. But Generation X, this ain't your grandpa's X-Men kind of deal. Was the perspective there? I'm putting words in his mouth, but I'm just always, my heart's always going to flutter when I see this team, specifically Husk. That first panel where Jubilee's there with the bear claw slippers, and Paige Guthrie's like jogging, and she was a badass leader, and she's here like, I don't need to freshen up, and she pulls out her face like that.
To me, when I picture Husk in Generation X, it's her tipsy, laying on the pool table, flirting with Chamber. Like that is that is definitive Husk to me. And yeah, she's just for our generation, she is such an iconic character. And of course, there's no other costume that she can be in than the Generation X. I mean, it's just not even debatable. She hasn't, as much as I do kind of love her She Lies with Angels look, the red jacket with
the very
black
anime style.
Yeah, I love that design. But it's got to be Generation X, and we know that the mold exists. It's probably just going to be a new head on the Monet body, and all good with me. I'm really excited for Husk, and I hope she's probably the one on the list the rumored list that I'm most excited about, just because Generation X, baby, I love them.
Yeah, I think Hasbro needs to throw collectors a bone because everyone is taking a Carol Danvers head or that Emma Walgreens head, and they're putting it on M's body. They're obviously swapping out the hands as well, but people are so desperate for this that they're like taking up those Brie Larson figures and just doing a head swap. I love this character so much. I want to ask a trolling question for you. If she had to come in a 2-pack with a love interest, would you have Husk with Chamber, Husk with Toad, or Husk with Archangel?
There's only one answer to this question. I would have her with Chamber, of course. And I would either have it be a bandaged up Chamber, with his powers not showing, or I would do, he rarely wore a Generation X team uniform, if ever. I think I can only recall him wearing it in the promo art. But of course, the 90s Toy Biz figure had him in a Generation X uniform, and I would be happy to get
the sparks.
Spark action.
I feel like I just like died mentally because I just did this when you said that.
Listen, it transports us back to a certain vibe in our lives, and that, Generation X will always do that for me. So the only answer is Chamber, unless we're getting the anime style costumes. I would take a second Husk figure in that costume with the, corresponding Angel.
Release her as a famous couples box set like we used to in the 90s. Like they did Age of Apocalypse, Gambit, and Rogue. They did X Factor, Jean, and Cyclops. Give us Husk and Chamber.
Repaint a Mary Jane figure like they loved to do back in for those sets.
Oh my god. That Sue Storm mold, they got like traction out of it.
I can't believe I even called it a Mary Jane figure. Of course it's the Sue Storm figure. Wow. I'm losing into my old age.
Okay, I can't say number 8 on this list because this is one that we have talked about. This is one I was sure we were going to get, but we didn't, and you called it right. Who is number 8 on our list?
Number 8 is Outback Psylocke with her cloak, her armor, her little mask. I mean, listen, I'm pretty sure it wasn't just on DMs. I think we talked about it actually on the pod. When an armored Psylocke was on one of these rumored lists, and you're like, oh, it's definitely gonna be Outback Betsy, and I was like, no, knowing the Hasbro team like I do at this point, it's definitely gonna be Lady Psylocke. We'll call her that. From when she first went into the ninja body, and of course that's what happened. And while that figure is beautiful, and when I do finally, it's gorgeous. I own it. I probably protested.
I thought I had it here.
Do I? Why?
I said I thought I had it here, but I don't.
Oh, no. It's probably in Miami. I we need Outback Psylocke because we have so much of that team at this point. We need to complete it, and plus, it's such just it's a cool look. I know that a lot of people don't identify it with the character, but for again, old folks, long time fans such as us, it's easily one of the most iconic looks that Psylocke has ever had.
Yeah, the costume first debuted in Uncanny X-Men 232. And one thing I didn't know about this, and I had to check uncannyxmen.net, was that her cape is actually chainmail. That's
Yeah.
something that I didn't know, and I would love to see that texture on a Marvel Legends format. I listen, when that rumored list for the 50th anniversary of Wolverine figures was circulating, and they were like armored Psylocke and Wolverine, this would make sense because Wolverine created this armor for Betsy. That makes perfect sense. That's why I was so violently, and I want to take credit here, violently savage with you about no, it is going to be that, and I was wrong.
You were wrong. Oh, I love to hear you say that. No, I just knew that it wouldn't be what I wanted it to be, because there's just a history of that.
Yeah.
When they, I'll save that story for later. I have a story relevant to somebody else on this list, but
Okay,
yeah,
fair.
it not being Outback Psylocke was, one of the times that I was like Mrs. White in the Clue movie with flames on the side of my face, like so upset that it wasn't the version I wanted. But again, I can't be that mad because the figure that we got
It's gorgeous.
it's beautiful. It's a great figure, and when I do have a display, I'm gonna put her with my villains just because.
I agree. It's one of those things where we've had a good year for Betsy because we got the Strike Force Betsy, which I thought was okay. I mean, listen, I'm glad we have her there, but I thought the figure is okay. But that I was going to say Lady Mandarin, Lady Psylocke, as she is officially billed, Lady Psylocke. I think she's stunning. She's probably one of the best Marvel Legends out there. So I don't want to throw any hate. I think I've said this to everyone. Go pick up that figure, especially if you're a Psylocke fan, because she's great. But oh my goodness, I would love an Outback era. And you were talking you were talking about your reaction. My reaction when we finally got confirmation that it was Lady Psylocke, I was Valerie Cherish having an awkward moment. Like you could just see it in my eyes, like everything's glossed over and I'm about to cry. Lisa Kudrow on the comeback. I was just like, no, Jane, you know what I mean? I was like, no, this is a joke. This can't be it. But regardless, flood the world with Betsy figures. But I will say, though, and she's not on our list. And this is something I discovered recently because it never really just occurred to me. We have never had a Quanon figure.
No.
Quanon has never made it in Marvel Legends. All these Psylocks out there are Betsy Psylocks. Yeah. They're not Quanon Psylocks.
I mean, an argument could be made that the first Hasbro Psylocke that was released, where she accidentally had black hair, an argument could be made that was her, but no. So officially, we definitely we have not. So throw in it's a French word, so please forgive me. Revanche. Throw in a revanche.
I say revanche. I say revanche.
Listen, I'm from Texas, so my instinct
I'm from Florida.
Revanche, like that's my like rhymes with ranch. That's my
you want some ranch dressing there? Yeah, I would love I'm going to say revanche because I'm from Florida. And revanche. I want her in that costume. That costume for me is iconic. I love her so much. The curly hair, the purple and the pink hues on that. Oh, I love that costume so much for her.
Same. I digress. We're getting off track here.
I'm actually very excited for our next figure on this list. And a lot of people have wanted her for a while. She's coming in at number 7. It's Magma. And I've thought really long and hard on how I want this figure. And I know this is going to spur maybe a debate between us. I don't know how you feel on this. So I'm excited. But it would be her in her flamed up look with like the lava cracks all over her body. Her hair needs to be up. a la the 1994 Fleer Ultra Mark Chiarello card and just look very dynamic like that. I don't know if I want her translucent. I'm still kind of going back and forth on it, but
If you couldn't tell from my wild gesturing,
I was reading my notes because I never have notes. But because we were talking, and I know we do so many side tangents, I actually made notes. I've never made notes before. That's how much I wanted to talk to you. Yesterday, I was making notes.
Meanwhile, I usually have notes, and I'm like, oh shit, I can talk about Marvel Legends all day off the cuff.
We compliment each other.
Strange how opposite we are. Yeah. But no, I was literally going to say I want her to look like, I can't remember. I don't think it's the exact same trading card you're talking about, but my first exposure to Magma was a trading card where she was kind of, it was kind of like an abstract version of her.
That's a Mark Chiarello one. Okay. It's very abstract, everything. Yes.
For some reason,
I'm going to drop it in our chat.
Yeah, I want it to be like a Bill Sienkiewicz inspired, a little offbeat looking Magma. She has to be powered up. I mean, if you want to have her depowered, again, bust out your Brie Larson head and stick it on the Danny body. That's fine. But yeah, if we're getting an original Magma figure, it absolutely has to be the powered up version. Has to be.
I dropped the one I'm thinking of in our chat. And I agree. So one of the notes I had here is like, please stop mutilating Brie Larson figures.
Oh, that's it. That's it. That's the look. That's exactly what I want.
Yeah, that's exactly what I want too. And obviously we'll overlay it for the familia who's watching this on YouTube. But I think the ship has sailed with that new Mutants female body and putting the Brie Larson head on it. I know that was something that Ryan Ting, when we had interviewed him years ago, had said originally they wanted to include a Magma head in that 3-pack. But I think that ship has sailed. I think we're all pretty happy with getting a powered up Magma. And I did not solicit folks with this on how do they prefer their Magma. But and you know how we feel about Windswept Hair. Again, the light up series Psylocke, we're still talking about it like 3 decades later. But in this case, I want it like Bride of Frankenstein, hair shooting straight up, fire everywhere. I'm surprised that we pleasantly agree because I wrote here, Flink wants her hair down, windswept, or flame up, ?
Oh, no, it's definitely, I want her fully powered up. And I feel like I do want her to be slightly translucent. When I think of a Magma figure, I think that they showed us what they could do and how they could execute that with the Singularity figure from the A-Force box set several years back. I mean,
I forgot about that. You know, I sold off a lot of the characters or the figures from that box set, except for that one.
I know you didn't sell off Monica Rambeau and She-Hulk.
Oh no! Oh, you're right. No, I still. Well, no, I did sell off She-Hulk though. I'm sad about that. I'm sad about that. But I did not. Of course not. Marvel Divas. Divas. Monica Rambeau she is preserved. Oh yes, I think Singularity from the A-Force box set is a great comp for this figure. Oh,
yeah.
I mean, obviously not that body mold or type, but like the execution.
Yeah. And have her, you know, the
Bravo.
The orange sparkly stuff in her, you know, make her like shiny flamey. I think they know they can do a pretty cool powered up Magma. At this point, I have faith. So Ryan Ting, you know, Dwight, everybody, Dan, everybody listen to us. We know what we're talking about.
By the way, just looking at eBay really quickly, for Monica Rambeau and Singularity, they are going for $144. Yeah.
Each?
No, together.
Okay, I was like, Jesus Christ.
Singularity by herself is in the 30s to 50s, which is not. Well, I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
But it's fair for a character we've never seen again.
Actually, I think I also kept Elsa Bloodstone. I digress here.
It was a good box set for the time.
Okay, number 6. I'm not going to be rational when I speak about this, so I am sorry, but this is a character I've wanted for a long time, and it's Doug Ramsey. And I want Doug Ramsey specifically with the jacket, the Warlock arm, and listen, I know this is not plausible, but if it can be done, I want him with the Warlock sword. And since we're already doing the Warlock sword, I'm envisioning more of a box set, deluxe like box set figure of him, like how they released Archangel, how they've released Falcon, how they've released Angel himself as well recently. I want him with like a Warlock skateboard. I want him with an alternate head that's half Warlock, half Doug. I I cannot take a standard male New Mutants body and then just a blonde head, Doug. I need all the bells and whistles. I know that's not rational, but I'm saying that's how I would like Doug.
I understand. I get it.
Sorry.
I know your love for Doug, and I think I think what you just described would be ideal. I do think that, if I'm not sure that a deluxe Doug is necessarily doable, but I do
It's
think
not.
a single card Doug with the Warlock arm and the Warlock sword is totally doable. I am glad we didn't get that standard New Mutants male figure with Sunspot, Cannonball, and Doug, because I think that's not the Doug that I want. I want the Krakoan Doug that you described, or I would even take Douglock. I'm a big fan of the Phalanx Covenant and of 90s Excalibur, so Douglock would be amazing, but technically that's not Doug Ramsey.
I
So
know.
I'll support you. You are the bigger Doug Ramsey fan. I'm not going to be out here saying give me Heir to Apocalypse Doug. I'm fully on board.
He's now Revelations. The amount of DMs and comments that came in with hashtag death of a twink. Like I know. I'm like, whoa. Like I didn't think I love Steve Fox. I think Steve Fox is such a great writer. And so I Dayspring am okay to go on this journey to see where Doug is going to go as Revelations, but the Familia was not having it. And I believe it was a collab post with From the Ashes. And the amount of people who are just losing their minds over Revelations because they love Twinkie Doug.
I mean, if you're not going to have Twink Doug, I don't understand the point of the character, to be quite honest. That is what he is. He's like this skinny, blonde, young guy of the X-Men. Like those are the words that you would use to describe Doug. So yeah, he is the twink of the X-Men, and I would like our Marvel Legends figure to reflect that. So I fully support your vision. If it comes, down to it, I think we might, it's been a while since the Warlock Build-A-Figure came out. I think probably he's expensive. I haven't checked because, I have him. I'm sure he's expensive on eBay. So I wouldn't even be surprised if we got a re-release of that figure in a two-pack with Doug. I think that would be a really good way to get a figure that some people might have missed out on, and to get a fan favorite figure that everybody really wants at this point out into the market. It
I
would sell
listen.
really well.
I have here in my notes, make him a 42.99 fan channel exclusive with a Warlock skateboard. So clearly I'm on the same page with you. I think repurposing that Warlock Build-A-Figure wave, which by the way, that is one of my favorite waves of Legends out there. I mean, we have Polaris and Dazzler in there. Yeah. And again, it's also the memories associated with them, because I know it was a Juggernaut wave that brought the X-Men back to Marvel Legends in a big way. But this one, I was like, oh shit, they're in it. Hasbro's in it. We are really getting X-Men now going forward, because there was an embargo. People forget there was an embargo on X-Men stuff, and because of the film rights, and we weren't getting all the Legends that we have today for X-Men. So I agree with you. That is why I'm being irrational with Doug. I know it's ambitious to say price him at $42 like a Phoenix figure, or maybe, I mean, they did it with Angel. Sorry.
Yeah, no,
That's how I want him. That's just how I want him. Doug and some Warlock, but I'm also with you on Douglock. I wouldn't say no to a Douglock figure.
It would be a visually interesting figure, I think. But again, fully support Twink Doug with his Warlock arm.
Well, speaking of visually interesting, do you want to introduce our next one? Our
Yeah,
number 5?
I'm really excited about this one. I'm glad that it placed so high on this list, because it's a character that I really want. Marrow. I love Marrow. She is from that sweet spot that you and I both love, the Joe Mad, Generation X era of of X-Men comics. So, bring her on. Bring her on. She's got a really cool look. I'm a little bit on the fence as to which version I want. I think if I really had to think about it, I would probably go more for the Joe Mad ugly villain Marrow, but then there's the Marvel versus Capcom, green and blue, somewhat less gross X-Men look that is probably a little bit better known to fans, but I don't know. Hasbro loves to pull from the Toy Biz well and update figures from Toy Biz, and of course we did get that, the villain version of Marrow in Generation X Wave 2. So I don't know. I think there's like a 50-50 shot as to which version we get. Again, I'm like 49% want the green costume, 51% want the Gene Nation. If we get the Gene Nation version, I want Gene Nation as well, the full team. Which again, that same I referenced it earlier. The Wave 3 of the Generation X was supposed to have Hemingway, and I believe Ever is his name, the dude with the brains all over him.
Oh yeah.
Those were some beautiful prototypes. Those would be some great figures. So, if we get Gene Nation Marrow, give me her gross looking team. Which version? We probably disagree on this, given that your love for Marvel versus Capcom.
I mean, that's it right there. It would be Marvel versus Capcom, and that, I mean, the Joe Mad era sort of had that look as well. Sometimes I'm thinking of specifically Uncanny X-Men 346, which, by the way, I reread Uncanny X-Men 346 yesterday at happy hour. I read it by myself at this local bar. I think that needs to be required reading for all X-Men fans out there. And for the familia who probably doesn't know which issue we're referring to, that's the one where Marrow fights Spider-Man, and it's during Zero Tolerance, and Jameson sends Peter Parker out there on an assignment to see what's going on, and he encounters Peter Gyrick Gyrick, and Marrow and Callisto try to kill him, and Spider-Man has to intervene. It is such a good issue. So a lot of people were saying Joe Mad Marrow, and that was about like 4 or 5 people who said that. I would tend to skew there, but I do have a love for that Gene Nation Generation X figure. She looks so maniacal, and her skin was all scaly. And for me, Marrow is always going to be epitomized when Storm literally like rips out her heart, exactly like that. And she goes, I'm forgetting Storm's exact quote, but she's here like, you can either live or die, but that's irrelevant to you because you no longer have that choice. And she like takes out Marrow's heart, and Marrow falls to the ground. But she has a second heart, so it's fine. She's no harm, no foul. But I was like, one, it would give us the Joe Mad Storm hair because Marrow cuts Storm's hair.
I was going to say the origin of that amazing hairstyle.
And then secondly, because what we would get setting up later on with Marrow and Zero Tolerance. And I think if you were around in the mid 90s, Marrow was having her minute in the comics.
Yeah.
She was being pushed. I mean, when you pair up a character with Spider-Man, that's showing that Marvel was really pushing this character. And then I'm forgetting the origin of how she arrived into Marvel versus Capcom, but I think she was specifically chosen because it was a Marvel initiative to have her in there.
You would know more about that than me, but a little bit of a sidebar here. Do you remember? Of course you remember. You were just referencing it, but like it was so nice in the 90s when Marvel was actively trying to make new mutant characters popular. I mean, Marrow, Nate, they would pair them up with Spider-Man and get them out there in the larger Marvel universe. And I can't remember, outside of Ms. Marvel, who is of course now a mutant, I can't think of a time when a new character has gotten such a big push like that. And it was nice. It was nice. I wish we could kind of go back to that in the comics, but I digress. I will obviously buy both versions of Marrow, release them both in a 2-pack. I don't care. I don't care. Just give us Marrow. If they wanted to make it cool like they did with the Toy Biz figure, and you can like put bones and pull them out, and as long as she comes with some bone daggers to give Storm a haircut, I'm happy.
Oh my God, yes. I listen, little bone accessories. I can just
We need
because you have to create that iconic pose of her like this or
yes.
her like doing the mid jump and like the bones in her. That's exactly how we need her. Oh, brilliant. Brilliant. No notes. No notes. The other character though, who we did get quite a few votes in, but is not on the top 10 list, would be Dr. Reyes as well. So I would love a shelf display with Reyes, Marrow, and Maggot. We have one of those figures. We need the other two.
I was going to say of the characters from that, 96, 97 class of X-Men, it's really surprising to me that Maggot was the first one we got. I would have expected it to be Marrow.
Agreed.
But give them all. I want them all. That is such the sweet spot of X-Men nostalgia. I know for you as well. The Operation Zero Tolerance Onslaught era. It's gold for me. And the fact that we've gotten a Maggot, none of these characters feel off the table at all.
Well, you know what's really interesting? I'm sorry, we are side tangent here, but um, Zero Tolerance. I tapped out of the books during Zero Tolerance.
Crazy.
And it's a good story. I've reread it several times over the years. It's not a bad story, but I tapped out during Zero Tolerance. I came back during Morrison. Morrison's what brought me back to the books. But following Onslaught, the books felt a little all over the place. And so
They were. It's fair.
it's fair, but I think we don't give enough credit for that era and for exactly what you just said. Like that is an era that's a certain class, it's a certain vibe. And yes, yes.
I actually tapped out like right after Operation Zero Tolerance when they brought back Colossus, Kitty, and Nightcrawler, and they went back to a very basic X-Men team. And like that's great. I understand why they would do that to bring in like the longtime readers, but for like a 90s kid reader like myself, I was sad to see kind of the weirdos get the shaft to go back to basics. Like it didn't do it for me. And then of course, yeah, Morrison brought me back with a bang. Like love again, we can't record you and I together without talking about how much we love the Morrison era.
Coming in at number 4 is a character I'm not going to introduce because you have spoken at length about your love for this character. So who is our 4th person on this list?
It's Farrell. I'm not even gonna like try and give
No.
intro.
I'm gonna be like David Beckham and you're Victoria Beckham. I'm like, say her real name. So what do you call her?
Farrell? I don't
know. The hot pink cat lady.
Oh my God. Yes. Okay.
Hot pink cat lady.
Yes. The hot pink cat lady coming in at number 4. It is Farrell. I mean, come on, listen, at this point, she is the last figure we need to complete X-Force. And it's crazy to me that we haven't gotten her yet. They just seem to love drawing out completing these 90s teams because I think there's this fear on the Hasbro team that there's a certain sector of fans that once they complete 90s X-Men are just going to stop buying Marvel Legends. And that's probably true. I don't think I quite fall into that group, but look, listen, she's got the coolest design. She's a cat lady with white streaks in her hair. She's got the hot pink costume with shoulder pads. She's got a tail. Like what you cannot go wrong with this figure. And I think that all of the components are there. The Tigra body has, like the texture, the fur texture and the tail. That works great. Just put the costume over it. I will say unlike the 90s Wolfsbane we got with the more subdued hair, I want Farrell to have the full whoosh. Like I want her to have the big ass Rob Liefeld hair as God intended. As God intended for her to have.
The higher the hair, the closer to God.
I mean, I am from Texas, y'all.
Yeah, there are a couple of things I want to note here about Farrell. Farrell is very beloved out there. And I was quite shocked about this when I was kind of Googling her. Did you know that she ranked 26 on Entertainment Weekly's ranking of every X-Men ever, beating out Iceman and Chamber? That's how high on the list she was.
I'm a
That's
little
truly
shocked about
impressive.
Iceman. That
I'm
is
shocked
very
about Iceman
impressive.
too. That was a very bold move from EW, but they put her at number 26. And she also appeared on Scary Mommy's list of Marvel female characters who are truly heroic. There is a lot of love out there for Feral, but do you want to know what the biggest sin is?
What? What?
If you go to uncannyxmen.net, she does not have a character spotlight.
What the fuck? I mean, Diamond Lil has a character
I know.
spotlight. Like, come on.
And I thought this was an error, and I kept refreshing and I kept looking. There is no character spotlight on uncannyxmen.net for
Canceled.
Feral. Can you believe that? Like,
I really can't. No.
okay, so I have actually a way that I want this figure released.
Okay.
And it's
tell me,
because
tell me.
I love the original X-Force. I love Rob Liefeld's art in that. I would love her released as a 2-pack, a versus 2-pack with Wild Side.
Oh, I mean, listen, Wildside is not somebody who's on my list necessarily, but like if we can get Zero, we can get Wildside. Like give me Reaper, give me Rainfire. Let's do the whole Mutant Liberation Front. Like I'm totally down for that.
This would be, let me be very clear about this. This would be Feral with a Wild Side accessory. Let's just be very clear here. Like, I want her with multiple heads as well, angry, somber, whatever, but it does have to be Rob Liefeld inspired.
Yes.
Very crazy kinetic coloring on it. It has to be hot pink. We both feel very strongly about it. It has to have the white streaks. The hair has to be all over the place. If we're looking at a clever way of releasing this, I would just suggest a versus like 2-pack with Wild Side. Not a deal breaker for me. Obviously, I'm not going to die on that hill. But if I had a preferred one, I will die on the Doug Ramsey hill. That hill I will die on. I will die, be resurrected by the 5, and die again with Doug Ramsey. But for this one, as long as we get Feral, I just think, okay, obviously I posted a video the other day about the rumored Marvel Legends list, and people came at me for being negative. I don't want to be negative, but I'm not wild about that X Factor Wolfsbane. So what I'm trying to say is I don't want that approach. Oh, look at that. You're like, I kind of like her.
No, I was gonna say I can see where you're coming from. Yeah. I'm blind. That's it completed probably like one of my top 3 X teams of all time. So I'm just thrilled to have that.
I'm thrilled to have the team completed.
Yeah, I do agree. She's a little too ginger. The coloring is a little off for me. And again, I would have gone full big 90s Larry Stroman X Factor, hair. So I get it. I get it.
Well, okay. So sorry, I'm like raising my hand here. Here's the thing about like a lot of modern Legends, and I don't want to fault Hasbro for it because I think it has worked in their favor a lot of times, but they are specifically looking at a reference for these figures, right? We've talked about this with M. It's Terry Dodson. Astonishing Emma was clearly John Cassidy. With this X Factor Wolfsbane, it was clearly the cover with from the Marvel Legend, or not the Marvel Legends, the X-Men Legends series. And it was more like that orangey cover. I'm forgetting who did it, but the X-Men Legends series, which was supposed to be which was released during the Krakoan era, which were stories meant to fill in the gaps of past stories. So it's a modern comic. I don't think they looked at the original source material. I think they went based off of this look. And so with Feral, I just wanted to be Rob Liefeld inspired. Yeah. How about that? Rob Liefeld. Sorry, I'm running around in circles when all I should have just said is what you already said, which is Rob Liefeld.
Yeah, I think that a little sidebar. I think that cover was the one that you're referring to was Todd Knock.
It was Todd Knock. It was yes, it was Todd Knock.
And they just recently revealed the X Factor by Peter David Omnibus Volume 3, and that is one of the covers for it. And I was so offended by that choice. I'm like, of all the X Factor latter day, whatever X Factor covers they could have chosen, from X Factor Investigations or even the corporate version of X Factor, they go with that. It's no knock on Todd Knock, but it's just not. It's not iconic for me. It's probably Peter David's last X Factor story, so the story itself, no problems with. But yeah, that's not the design choice I would have gone for the Wolfsbane figure or for the omnibus that I'm gonna buy anyway.
So yeah, so again, the note is just Farrell, Rob Liefeld inspired 90s. Don't hold back. Go wild on Farrell.
Please, please, please make Farrell look feral.
All right. We are in our top 3 territory here. And I feel all these figures, I mean, all the figures we already discussed we want, but these 3 in particular are an absolute must. There is no way that we can continue Marvel Legends unless we are promised these figures one day. And number 3 is Deathbird.
Oh, we gotta have her. We gotta have her. And I have been campaigning for the 90s Jim Lee Ninja Force Toy Biz version.
I have that in my notes. I have that in my notes too. Yes.
Yeah. I have been advocating for that version for as long as we have been advocating for Marvel Legends on the podcast. And I always thought she was a long shot. I always thought that we would get the more classic feathery version, but now with X-Men 97, there is absolutely no doubt when we get Deathbird. It's not if, it's when we get Deathbird, probably in an X-Men 97 wave. She 100%. Is going to be with the tubes and the armor and the thigh highs. Like, yes, and the headpiece. Oh, I love that headpiece. This figure needs to happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if she happened in the next 12 to 18 months.
We do know another X-Men 97 Wave 3 is coming, not this year. Dan already said that it wasn't happening this year, but next year. I believe some of the list was spoiled on Slayer Fest 98 when he interviewed one of the cast members. But 96 Ninja Wave, that is what I have here with the chrome parts. Listen, she has become an internet sensation with her iconic line, Xavier and his Milky Way ghetto. There is no way that we're not getting a Deathbird figure, given how popular the character for what is essentially a brief appearance on X-Men 97. She was only in like 1 episode, right? Like, and it was even half of it. There's no way that they're not doing her because she was just absolutely iconic. No notes, that's it. The only thing I'm going to say here that I wrote here that I didn't know, because I was like, why does she always want the throne though? Like, why is she I always thought she was a middle child. She is the eldest. She's the eldest. I did not know that. I didn't know she was the oldest of the Normani siblings.
How dare you not know your Khaleesi history?
Listen, so she murdered her mom and her younger sister. Yep. And she was like dethroned as a result. And that's where Deken, who is the middle child, took the throne. And then obviously that's why we had Lilandra come after, because Deken was very corrupt. I didn't know that. In my headcanon, it was always Deken, then Deathbird, and then Lilandra. But Lilandra got the throne because she defeated Deken, and Deathbird was, kind of like mad, like insane. So I didn't know she is technically the oldest. I did not know that at all. And that there was a 4th sibling. I didn't know it.
The more you know. Now,
I didn't.
I do have to be shady now and ask you, where do you know where Deathbird first appeared? In whose book?
Of course, Miss Marvel. Okay. Oh my god. Was it Miss Marvel 106? I think I read the issue a couple years ago. What
106. Year? We would be lucky if Ms. Marvel had gone on to that long. No, I believe it's like 13.
Was it 13? Okay.
I don't know.
Listen, I don't do issue numbers. I'm sorry. I always have to write down issue numbers. I can conceptualize covers. I can pull out obscure facts, but I cannot conceptualize issue numbers. I have to give props to Carol for having such a wonderful rogues gallery that's translated to X-Men.
Number nine. Single digits. By the way, that book only went up to number 24. Maybe 23. So yeah.
Really? Wow. Okay. Yeah. I'm like, wow. But we got Mystique, Rogue, and Deathbird all started off as Carol Danvers villains. Which, by the way, like, that's what I think also creates a good solo series. Create interesting, unique villains, like a interesting, unique rogues gallery. I think that's what modern comics has wrong when they do their own, series that we don't really get interesting. The operative word
Yeah.
here is being interesting villains for our main heroes or the hero
No,
carrying that title.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And as much as we've just gushed over, the 90s 97 look for Deathbird, and that is definitely my preferred look, but if Hasbro also wanted to give us a classic Deathbird versus classic Ms. Marvel Carol Danvers 2-pack, I would adore that.
Oh, but speaking of a two-pack, she would do really well with a Lalandra in the Spider Rebellion bathing suit. I know
That's the version we're definitely going to get in Marvel Legends.
I'm the only person who wants it. I'm the only person who is like, I don't want Empress Lalandra. I want the Spider bathing suit. I think of Jordan, the girl with the great smile, that costume looks so interesting and beautiful. Listen, I get it. It's not for retail. It's not for mass retail. But I would also like her to come with an M Kron crystal. Then that would be although I use Pedro. I was gonna say Mini made it.
Don't do it.
The mini toy collector.
Mini toy box. Oh my God. Respect.
I don't know why
identity.
it doesn't stick. I don't know why it doesn't. I love Mini made it as a name. I understand he changed it. Okay, but the Hero Clicks M Kron Crystal works very well for display purposes. That Pedro, the mini toy box. All right. I'm going to let you introduce number one because there's no way in hell.
We're not even on number one yet, baby.
I know, but that's why I said. That's why I said I'm taking number two.
Okay,
which is Exodus. I listen. The Quiet Council member. We need Exodus. I think this is a fairly slam dunk figure. I would be okay if they released him fairly basic. Meaning as part of a wave with no bells and whistle, as long as he had the gold armory parts and the white cape. And I don't know, I'm debating if I want a flared up head, like with the eyes glowing, or just maybe whited out eyes. But I think he is long overdue. Everyone wants him. It was like very obvious from the Familia that Exodus is needed.
Exodus, aka Exodius. No.
Exodius. No, Hammy.
I totally agree. We need Exodus. He's one of the major villains still left to do. Yeah, exactly. He needs the gold, he needs the hot pink skin, he needs the white cape. I have a lot of love and nostalgia for the character based on the Toy Biz figure, which I think is one of their best figures from the 5-inch 90s lines. We deserve him. I mean, he is a classic villain, and well, God, it's so hard for me to define anything from the 90s as classic, but it really is 30 years ago at this point. But yeah, and with his appearances on X-Men 97, it's time. His non-speaking appearances.
I love his dance. Although I was why is he dancing like that? But I get it. He's a character based off of religion and faith and ritual. So whatever, he's taking part in Genosian culture. It's a spiritual dance, but
he can't resist the Dazzler bops.
That's what I was going to say. Even he is a Dazzler stan. It's in canon that Exodus loves Dazzler and wants to dance along to her music. Yeah. The circulated rumored list out there has Fabian Cortez before Exodus. And I personally prefer Fabian Cortez, but I do think it's criminal that he is coming before Exodus. I think we need Exodus. He is a diehard acolyte of Magneto. Again, it is odd for me to say classic because, to me, these stories are still so incredibly fresh in my head, and I think about them daily. But yeah, he is much needed, and I think he should come before Exodus, if that list is to be believed, of course. Excuse me, before Cortez, if that list is to be believed. But Exodus, complete the Quiet Council, where we have Destiny coming. That's it. Destiny and him were the last ones. We have everyone now.
Yeah, he's iconic, and I really don't have a whole lot to say other than give us Exodus. He is a glaring hole in our ex villains display at this point. I'm surprised we haven't already gotten him. And yeah, to your point, having Cortez come before Exodus to me is a little bit backwards. So hopefully this, if this list is true, this is, Fabian Cortez is just a hint at more acolytes to come. At this point, I would take most of the acolytes. I would take a Frenzy. I would take the Kleinstock brothers. I would take a Unishone. Like give them. I want them all. Senyaka. Like come on. I want them all.
Who is our number one? And by the way, can I just say this number one was a landslide. No one else came close. Like Exodius and Deathbird, Exodus and Deathbird, they were pretty neck to neck. We're talking like it was difference of like 2 or 3 votes for them. Yeah. But this number one was a landslide. Like no contest. This was number one.
I mean, nor should there be. This is a character that has a huge fan base. I myself included, massive fan. It is Rachel Summers, Phoenix. And to be clear, I don't know what the Familia, if they specified, but to me, of course, it is the red spiked Alan Davis Excalibur version with her little mullet. It has to happen. And this is the story that I was alluding to earlier with Outback Psylocke when I said the flames on the side of my face. I was at work when they revealed the Excalibur 3-pack. And when Rachel was not revealed as part of that set, my face got so hot and I got so angry. I literally had to go sit in my car, like excuse myself from work and go sit in my car for 20 minutes to calm down. I was so pissed. And I'm still angry. I'm still angry that we are, 3-4 years out from that Excalibur box set, and we still have no signs of Rachel. It is tragic. It is nonsense. Hasbro team, please, for the love of God, give us Rachel Summers in her bondage spiky outfit. We need her desperately.
So I think they're well aware about Rachel. They certainly are not daft to it. I saw Dwight at New York Comic Con last year, and Huff had sent over the Rachel jacket, and I came up to Dwight, and I now understand that he probably was like, "Oh shit, here comes a crazy X-Men fan." I was wearing the jacket because it was sent to me, not because I wanted to prove a point. But the first time, like the second he saw me, he was here like the Hound, Rachel. We talked about it. They're aware. I would be remiss to say that like there has to be somewhere in Dwight's work computer designed files for a Rachel in the Hound costume with the Phoenix effect. This is a figure, by the way, that needs to be released like the Jean Phoenix figure, like the Angel figure, like the Captain Sam Wilson figure. It needs to be a deluxe. I want her with all of the bells and whistles. I want like as many heads that make financial sense. I want her flamed up with the spikes, normal face. I want her with clip-on Phoenix wings. I want the Phoenix effect. I want everything for this figure. Whatever is doable for the budget, I want them to do it. Were we fighting and talking when the Excalibur 3-pack was revealed?
No, I think we were friends at that point. I think we were friends at that point.
For people who probably don't know, we definitely were very savage in our friendship in the past.
Oh yeah. It took us, we had some growing pains with our podcasting relationship, but we're in such a good place now. And look at us.
I love you.
I love you too, bro. We are totally aligned on what we want from Rachel. She has to be deluxe. These are the heads that Rachel needs to have. She needs to have powered down. She needs to have one with the facial tattoos, and she needs to have one with a flame mullet, a translucent flame mullet. And I
Yeah.
agree. She needs to have the clip-on underarms. I'm picturing the Excalibur #1, where she's front and center on that cover with her little wings underneath her arms. Like it, yes, yes. And I hope that, the Jean Grey Phoenix that we are, some people already have her, that we're getting is a harbinger of things to come. And that, they needed this to release Jean first to cost out the creation of the Phoenix effect, and that we will very shortly, for the love of God, have a Rachel with it. Like, it just finish this team. We have had one person left on. We've gotten another Nightcrawler before we've gotten Rachel to complete this team. And I recognize that, the Caliban Build-A-Figure Nightcrawler figure was very expensive, and, a lot of people didn't have him. So fair, fine. We needed to get X-Men 97 Nightcrawler out there so the masses can be prepared for when, God Queen Jr. Phoenix comes out, because we need her desperately need this figure. I cannot even tell you how badly I want a Rachel Summers at this point.
And the Excalibur one, I mean, the Alan Davis inspired is the one we need. I could be a troll and said I want the Uncanny X-Men with the Phoenix bird as like the boob window. You know what I'm talking about? I can be a brat and say, but like, it has to be that. And the thing about giving her multiple heads as well is that you can also grab one of those heads and put it on the retro card Dark Phoenix body, or whichever Dark Phoenix body you have, assuming the heads can translate. It's just such a slam dunk. You can get 2 Rachels out if you do multiple heads. No notes. It was a landslide. Rachel Summers. Everyone wants Rachel Summers. That's who we need. Just give us Rachel Summers. Do you think she can survive a $34.99, $42.99 price point?
I think so. I mean,
I think so too.
I really do think so. I think that there's enough crazy people like you and I out there that want her. She's a well-known enough character. And by the way, she just appeared, not in the version that we want, but she just appeared in the season finale of X-Men 97. So presumably, possibly, we will see some sort of flashback to young Rachel, hopefully wearing this costume and introducing it to an even bigger audience. I mean, people know who Rachel is. She has been a key part of the X-Men for a long time. Don't underestimate the popularity of 90s Excalibur. It is something that people who who haven't read X-Men in 25 years, people still love that book. So it's just a slam dunk. It's a no-brainer. And, the cynic in me wonders if like the kind of bondage look is the reason that we haven't received her yet, because we know we're not allowed to get underboob Maddie. So I wonder if Rachel sort of suffers the same fate, but I'm confident that there will be a way to get her out there, and hoping that it is a super deluxe, all the bells and whistles Phoenix. We got it. But just please, God, who do I need to beg at this point?
I'm glad you said beg. I thought you were going to say something else.
This is not that kind of podcast.
You're a long way from Crusco, Sapien Cast. Oh, I like died. My biggest fear, my nightmare, though, although I love this iteration of the character, is that we will get a Mother Ascani figure before a Hound Rachel. Because obviously, I mean, she is going to be a big part of season 2. There's no way that they're not going to have her front and center in X-Men 97.
Please. I mean, we did get like a cameo flash to her in her Hound costume. Right? Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
We did.
So then, yes, the seeds have already been planted. It's going to happen. We got to have this figure. I would preferably before then. That would be fantastic before season 2. But like, please, Dan, Dwight, and Ryan, if there's one figure you make in 2025, it has to be Rachel Summers. The people, the familias behind me, we will riot.
And I mean, don't forget, Gates McFadden is now officially the voice of the character. So that is it. Like, Gates McFadden did not sign up to do Rachel Summers if she did not have an action figure clause in her contract. So we need get us a Hound. I will take a Mother Ascani as well, but has to be the Hound. She's going to be front and center X-Men 97. Rachel's having her moment. I wonder. Here's the thing, because okay, and we'll wrap it up, but we did get the blue costume Marvel versus Capcom Cable in a main wave, and we knew that costume played a significant role in X-Men 97. I wonder if the Hasbro team is holding out on Rachel right now because they know Rachel, maybe a present form, is going to play a large role in X-Men 97, and this will be the opportune time to release her, would be for next year.
Fine.
Listen, I'm just speculating.
But as long as it is next year, I swear to God, if we get to 2026 without a Rachel Summers figure, I don't think I will survive.
Do you know what would be really depressing? If we are 50 years old and still ranting about wanting a Rachel figure, and we get comments and DMs from people be like, "Oh, you need to move on from that," blah blah blah. Like,
never.
And because I was complaining on the rumored list, like, why are we revisiting some iterations of characters? And I struck a nerve, and people are just like, "No, we want this X-Force Laura. We want this X-Force Warpath," and like, on a new body. And I'm like, I'm not denying new molds and new bodies for people, but we have characters that are still waiting to be done. I just have this horrible vision of us still in this circle at 50, old and gray, being like, we need a Rachel Summers.
Oh God. No, we can't have, it just can't happen. I can't.
Flink, I love you. This has been almost 2 hours of recording, and I said 20 to 30 minutes.
I laughed in your face.
We just always have so much to say. Can I tell you, I got a compliment from some of the familia on DMs that they're like, I just love it every time you and Flink are together because I feel I'm part of the conversation and I want to jump in. And that, to me, I always know it's a good episode or something hits well with listeners when people say, I want to be part of your conversation.
And that means a lot. You know, I appreciate the folks that appreciate us. But the thing is you can't, the dynamic that you and I have, we have been having these conversations for 20 years at this point. And this conversation would be happening whether we had microphones in our faces or not. So I love it. I enjoy, us nerding out about comic books and action figures, and now that it doesn't hurt to breathe and talk, I'm going to be around a lot more.
Are you? I forgot on our DMs, bitch. Are you coming to New York Comic Con? Can you come to New York Comic Con?
Yes. I'm put.
Well then, we have to put it fast now for you.
Let's do it. I'm ready. We got to do New York Comic Con, and the thing is when I'm at the conventions, they reveal the figures I want. I was at SDCC when they revealed both of the Dazzler figures that we received. I was there when they revealed Angela. So, like, if I'm at this convention and they're doing Marvel Legends reveals, sure enough, we're probably going to get Rachel. Just putting that out there. So we need to make sure that I am at New York Comic Con.
All right, Familia, you can hit me up at Power of X-Men on Instagram.
You can find me at Flinkman on Instagram.
And we will catch you guys later.
See ya.